He dumps it the second he runs. The front locks, and they go down straight into an iron pipe. He never even touches the brakes. Number 1 ends in tragedy. Kicking off the countdown at number 8, the riders who barely lasted a second. This one spots a patrol, panics, and pins the throttle. He never finds his line. The bike steps out, and he dumps it almost the instant he tries to run. Next rider thinks the alleys will save him, weaving hard between walls with the throttle wide open. But one tight gap is all it takes. The front tucks, he loses control, and he meets the concrete before the chase ever really begins. At number 7, we have the riders undone by their own brakes. A couple two up on a small CB300 hit a slick wet patch and grabbed too much front lever. The wheel locks, washes out from under them, and the chase ends in a slide before they even get going. The second run is short and sharp, a quick pursuit of a twister that barely covers a few blocks. The rider squeezes too hard, the front lets go, and down he goes with the throttle still half twisted. The little bike skating away wrecked. number 6 brings the crashes nobody else caused. A rider with no helmet leans into a turn, runs out of room, and clips a wall. The bike lowsides hard and slides out from under him. A solo wipeout with no protection between skin and asphalt. The second clip swaps 2 wheels for 4, a pickup fleeing like a rally car. It nearly takes down 2 officers on the way through, then loses the plot completely and slams down hard, the driver crashing out after pushing far past the edge. At number 5, the chases that ended against something solid. The first rider carries way too much speed into a corner he can't possibly make. The bike refuses to turn, runs wide, and he slams straight into an iron pipe with nowhere left to go. Next one is a split-second nightmare. An oncoming car appears in his path. He flicks the bike to dodge it, and that desperate swerve sends him straight into a light pole. One obstacle avoided, a worse one found. The last fugitive thinks he can hold the throttle through a closing curve, but the road tightens faster than he does. He loses the line completely and crashes badly, the bike spitting him off as it folds. 3 riders, 3 hard objects, all stopped cold at number 5. Number 4 is where the machines get wrecked beyond saving. This first run is reckless from the jump. A drunk wheelie on a Titan with a passenger clinging on. The front drops wrong, balance gone, and it ends in a brutal crash that leaves the passenger hurt. The second rider has no helmet and even less judgment, hammering the throttle until he crashes hard onto open road. Then, in a move you have to see to believe, he tries to fake feigning on the spot to dodge the consequences. The last clip puts 2 riders on an MT-03 hard on the brakes, and the front locks at exactly the wrong moment. The bike dumps them both, and the patrol runs them down before they can recover. Mangled metal and total chaos. That is our number 4. We crack the top 3 with the corners that hide what's coming. The first rider attacks a blind curve flat out, fully committed with zero visibility ahead. On the other side waits a parked car, and there is no time to react before he slams straight into it. The second clip is grim. Two minors crashing hard on a wide-open street where they never should have been pushing that fast. The fall is violent, and both end up hospitalized for days after the bike goes down beneath them. The final rider panics when the chase tightens, grabs a fistful of brake and loses everything. The bike snaps sideways and he crashes violently, the kind of fall that knocks the wind clean out of the camera. Hidden dangers and split-second slams. That is why this sits at number 3. Number 2 is the hardest to watch because the riders take others down with them. A fleeing couple lose control and crash head-on into an innocent rider who simply happened to be in the wrong place. 1 bad escape, 2 parties hurt. The next rider never even tries to brake. He blows through the chase at full tilt and slams directly into another motorcyclist. The impact sudden and ugly, a collision that was completely avoidable if he'd lifted off the gas just once. The last fugitive plays it dirty, brake-checking the cop behind him before slamming into a car and ricocheting through traffic like a pinball. Innocent drivers scatter as the bike caroms off metal. When your escape endangers everyone around you, you've earned the number 2 spot. Top of the list, the wrecks that cross the final line. The first is a reckless rider pushing far beyond control, weaving and forcing the pace until it all unravels. The wipeout that follows is fatal, the chase ending in the worst way a chase can end. Second clip puts 2 on a single bike running from the law, and when it lets go, the crash scatters stolen phones across the road. The wreck is heavy, and the aftermath is everywhere. The bike and its riders thrown down hard onto the pavement. final run is a 2-up adventure bike that simply has nowhere to go, slamming into 2 cars in quick succession before it goes down in a tangle of metal and bodies. There is no walking these off cleanly. These are the deadliest of them all, and they stand unchallenged at number 1. That was today's countdown, ranked a pure disaster on 2 wheels. Split Second drops a fresh breakdown every single day. So hit subscribe and